ready to get started. Okay, good morning, everybody. You are currently attending the IPEC America's Excipient World Updates and Late Breaking News webinar. It's August 18th and it's about 11 a.m. My name is Courtney Nazarino and I'm an IPEC America's staff member and the Excipient World Conference and Expo event director. And I will be your presenter today. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, many of you have seen this before, but I would like to review our virtual code of conduct. Please help to establish and maintain a positive and supportive online learning environment, and treat all other participants and their opinions with respect, cultural sensitivity, and politeness. I review this at the beginning of all of the Excipient World related webinars because we really encourage active participation during the webinars. For this webinar, we will be using the Q&A function. I like the quote, "The only silly question is the one you don't ask." Really, I'm giving out a lot of information today, but obviously not a mind reader. So if there's anything on your mind that you're curious about the event, please do not hesitate to pop your questions into the Q&A. I'll be monitoring it and trying to catch them as they come in. Also, the Q&A has the functionality for people to, number one, submit questions anonymously, so don't feel shy if you don't want your name connected to your question, that's fine. And number two, for participants to be able to view the questions and upvote, so that helps me prioritize which questions I'm going to address first. So please, again, don't feel shy to pop questions in and to contribute through the Q&A. The other thing that we will be using today is polls, because I'm also learning from you. I'll be giving out, as I said, a lot of information, but collecting information as well. It's a funny time in all of our lives right now as we are preparing for our event in September. So I'm taking this opportunity also to get information from you, the participants of this webinar, so that way we at IPEC can be as responsive as possible in the planning of the event over the next couple of weeks. So with that said, we're going to start off with a getting to know you poll, because it's always helpful for me to know who I'm talking to. You should see the poll on your screen right now. The first question I have is just a little bit of an icebreaker for me to understand how your day is going so far, on a scale of 1 being yuck, I'm ready for today to be over, to 5, it's the best day ever. Please let me know how your day is going. The second question is curious about whether or not you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert. And the last one is having to do with your participant history, whether or not you've attended Excipient World, formerly Excipient Fest, before in the past. So please take a moment and enter your responses into the poll. Don't be shy. Okay, we can close the poll, show the results. Okay, I like to see that. It's shaping up to be a pretty good day for most people. I think for myself too. The sun is shining and it's August. Things are usually pretty slow this time of year, so I'm kind of on board with that, but I can sympathize with the people where it might be a little bit too early to tell. Okay, got a lot of introverts in the house today. That's great. So I won't be too offended if you're submitting your anonymous questions instead of having your name involved. I think I'm kind of a depends on the daytime situation type of a person. So I can relate to, I think, the majority in this group. And last but not least, I'm looking to see, have you attended Excipient World? It looks like the majority of the people who responded are going to be first timers this year. That's really exciting. And then many people said that they've attended in the past as well. So thank you so much for participating. It helps a lot to know kind of your background. So when I'm giving information about the event, to know how detailed I should be. Okay, so just a reminder for everybody, Excipient World Conference and Expo is coming up at the end of September. I'm sure you all have the dates in Sharpie on your calendars by now. But our workshops are going to be held on September 27th, and the conference and expo portion of the event happens on September 28th and 29th. We will be at the Gaylord National, which is in the DC metro area. And I do want to point out that our website is listed here on this slide, excipientworld.org, and it's just jam-packed with a lot of information about the event. So if you miss anything during this presentation, feel free to go browse the website to find additional information. Just a quick review too of our learning objectives for today. Number one, I'm going to take us through the top reasons to attend Excipient World Conference and Expo. I'm going to show people how to navigate the event website to find a couple of our important features, but also to make sure people know exactly how to register and book their housing for the event. And then the last thing is that we will be focusing on some speaker related items at the end of the webinar. I'm happy to report that many of our Excipient World speakers are actually on the webinar with us today, as well as many representatives from our exhibiting companies. So the first two bullet points in our learning objectives are applicable for everybody who's on the call, but then when we get to the third one, we'll pause and kind of break off so that unless you're really interested, you could stay on, but really that'll be the speaker portion of this presentation. So we're going to dive right into the countdown of the top 3 reasons. And in true countdown fashion, we're going to start with reason number 3. So the top third reason for attending Excipient World is the networking aspect. The idea that you will be able to expand your network of formulator, R&D, regulatory and compliance, quality assurance, supply chain, and other manufacturing professionals. Right here, you see a sampling of participants. These are people who are actually already involved in the event this year. So it's not just kind of past information, but people who are planning to be involved this year. And you can see as you're looking at the list of participating companies that participants come from pharmaceutical, biologics, veterinary medicine, combination device, and consumer healthcare product companies. In addition, you can see here in the top left of the first column that we also have many related organizations, including FDA, Exapact, etc., who are also participating in the event. I'm going to take a quick question. Oh, I see. Thank you, Dave. I see that Dave started the Q&A with a note. So feel free again to pop things in there. So moving in, for as far as networking events are concerned, so how you're going to be able to mix and mingle with all the people who are coming. First of all, we have scheduled in over 5 hours of networking breaks and exclusive exhibit floor time. In addition, we have over 10 hours of meals and evening networking events. So like our purpose for this event really is to give people the opportunity to make meaningful connections with peers, to be able to exchange best practices and lessons learned throughout the conference. So we definitely made a big effort to create space for those kinds of conversations. In addition to the lunch breaks and the lunches and the breaks between education sessions, we do mention those evening networking events. There is one every single evening of Excipient World. So on the first evening, we start off with our welcome reception. The second evening, we are actually having our IPEC America's 30th anniversary celebration, which I will get into in a minute. And then on the last evening, we have our thank you happy hour. So as people are getting ready to depart after the event, we also like to kind of spend time together there. So with that said, one of the new things that we're offering this year is a +1 networking pass. And the purpose of the +1 networking pass is to allow registered attendees to bring a significant other or family member that they may be traveling with to our evening networking events. This can be added onto your registration when you are registering for the event for $99. So I mentioned the IPEC America's 30th anniversary celebration. As I said, it's going to be on Tuesday, September 28th. One thing I want to highlight as far as that event is, in addition to celebrating our 30th anniversary, we will be kind of hosting a movie premiere. You can see here in the pictures some behind the scene photographs of us preparing our 30th anniversary IPEC Americas video, and that will be released at the 30th anniversary celebration on Tuesday, September 28th. In addition, we will have this really fun band called Primetime will be the entertainment for the evening, and they play music from jazz to Motown to 70s, 80s, 90s top hits type music. So they're a really fun group and have been a staple act in the DC area for more than 15 years. Now, okay, I just mentioned a lot of networking, and I know you're saying, wait a minute. There's a pandemic going on. So I want to pause here to kind of talk through some of the precautions that we are taking to make the event as safe as possible for everybody who's attending, because we want you to feel confident and safe while you're with us. So first of all, I mentioned a lot of breaks in between sessions where we want people to have time on the exhibit floor. We have adapted our format on the exhibit floor and the booth dimensions from 10 by 10 booths to 8 by 10 booths to kind of allow for larger aisles to accommodate physical distancing. So while you're in the expo hall, you'll have more space to move around. We've also reduced the seating in session rooms to allow for additional spacing between participants. And we've added new sponsorships to support our efforts for safety. So we will have hand sanitizer stations throughout our space. The event bags will include personal hand sanitizer bottles as well as additional masks. So you will have those, at your disposal to use throughout the event. As far as masking and vaccinations and that type of thing, we are kind of monitoring and adhering to the CDC guidelines and working with the venue, the Gaylord National, kind of to follow, what is being recommended on the state and local level. So I'm going to pause right here. I see that I have a note. Oh, I'm going to get to this question in just a moment. Let's see here. So as I talked about, we, are partnering with the Gaylord in terms of the COVID-19 protocols. So I'm going to take a moment now to show you just a quick video that kind of goes through what the Marriott properties, Marriott is the parent company of the Gaylord, are doing to ensure that we are safe at their properties.
For over 90 years, Marriott International has been dedicated to taking care of our guests with a focus on quality, exemplary service, and trust. Today, these values are more critical than ever. As we welcome you back to our hotels around the world, we are committed to providing you with a safe environment that aligns with expert protocols for working to defeat COVID-19. With consultation from our experts in public health, we are redefining our cleaning and safety standards. Starting with our public spaces and high traffic areas, we're going above and beyond our normal protocols. We are cleaning surfaces with increased frequency, dedicated staff, and recommended cleaning agents. Hand sanitizing stations are being installed at hotel entrances, at our front desks, our elevator banks, and meeting spaces. Signage in public spaces will remind our guests to maintain social distances. We will be adding partitions at check-in to provide extra level of precaution for our guests and their associates. In our guest rooms, we have added to our rigorous protocols, ensuring all surfaces are thoroughly cleaned with hospital-grade disinfectants. And we will be placing disinfecting wipes in each room for your use. We're rolling out enhanced technologies, including electrostatic sprayers, to sanitize surfaces throughout the hotel. Our mobile technologies provide reassurance and distancing options for guests. In over 3,200 hotels, your phone can be used to check in, access your room, and order room service. It can be specially packaged and delivered right to your door without contact. We will actively monitor and evolve our solutions to ensure a continued focus on the health and safety of our guests and associates. So when the time is right, we're here, ready to welcome you back. I'm Bill Marriott, and you got my word on
it. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of information from the perspective of the hotel also. Obviously, they're looking forward to welcoming guests back to their properties and putting a lot of, and have been for a while, putting a lot of precautions in place to help us feel safe. Okay, that brings us to our second poll. This is kind of a getting to know you part 2 poll. For me to collect a little bit more information about who's on the call. So first of all, please let me know which category best describes your company or organization. Are you coming from the academic side of things, the supplier side of things, or the user, or somewhere else? The second question I have is, what is your primary role or job function? Where do you kind of focus in terms of your work? Okay, give you another moment to pop your answers in. Okay, now we'll show the results. Okay, so it looks like we have one person from academic, thank you, a bunch of people from the supplier side, consulting firm, distributor, and manufacturers as well. And then we have excipient users and nonprofit organization or government agencies. It's a nice mix of people today in our audience. And then as far as focus area, couple people from formulations, operations, technical services, quality. We have a person from R&D and a bunch of people from regulatory. Okay. That's great, thank you. That's helpful because we're going to move into reason number 2 for why people should be attending the event, and that is to increase people's access to innovation. So as I mentioned before, we're going to have over 5 hours of dedicated time for exhibit floor exploration and information exchange. We have actually encouraged our exhibiting companies to staff their booth with professionals like you, formulators, R&D, regulatory, quality scientists who actually are going to, who we encourage to attend the conference sessions, and when they're back in the booth, be prepared to engage in technical dialogue with the participants who are there. I'm showing half of our exhibiting companies right now. I'll jump to the next slide in a minute. I couldn't fit them all on one slide, but you can see that our exhibiting companies are excipient manufacturers, distributors, and nonprofit organizations, including USP and IPEC Americas. And here's the second half of our list. The exhibit floor is actually 90% sold out, and we do have 4 spaces remaining. So if you are a distributor or a manufacturer of excipients and you are interested, feel free to reach out to me after the event and I can help you connect with the right people. In addition, we will have over 20 poster presentations. Those are also going to be on the exhibit floor this year, right? As you walk into the exhibit floor, they're going to be presented by both excipient manufacturers and members of academia. So we have a nice mix of who is providing the content for the poster presentations. And we will this year also have presentations in our exhibit hall theater from academic poster presenters. So a lot of R&D focused, like up and coming innovative thoughts on the exhibit floor this year. So this is a quick overview just to kind of orient you to how our exhibit floor is going to be set up. You can kind of see here in the middle of the screen, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor or not, but where it says posters, that's the main entrance of our event this year. So you'll walk through and the posters are going to line the main entrance area. And then you can see the exhibit space is straight ahead of you. The red ones are the ones that are sold. We do have 4, as I mentioned, booths that are still available if you think your company might be interested. Off to the left, you see that we have our theater and lounge area. As I mentioned, that is where we're going to have our live poster presenters, as well as a handful of 20-minute quick talks on the exhibit floor. And one of our, and I'll get into our speakers in a moment, but our featured keynote speaker, Catherine Eban, will be joining us in the theater and lounge area to do a book signing. So we have a lot of, we're pushing a lot of education and content into the exhibit hall. And then you can see that we're going to have 2 smaller breakout rooms down on the lower left, as well as our larger general session room. I'm going to pause for a moment and kind of move us into another video with exhibitor success stories, so you can get a sense from the exhibitor point of view of the value of the exhibit hall, not just as a marketing tool, but as a opportunity to exchange information with the attendees.
Excipient World is the only US event focused on the business, science, quality, and safe use for excipients. Exhibitors have ample time to dedicate exhibit hall hours to meet with attendees at their booth and many networking opportunities to meet with customers and new prospects.
You know, the biggest takeaway for us is the intimacy of the connections with the customers and the suppliers. You know, I think we're all craving that, and I ask myself, why are we getting these intimate connections? And I think it has to do with the workshops, the fact that the attendees are coming here gaining value out of the regulatory and the industry workshops. That to me draws a lot of the people here that we want to make contact with. So the connections they're strong and they're intimate, and for that I think it's a great show.
Excipient World delivers quality buyers and influencers that are there to learn about and source excipient and services. Exhibitors can engage with the leading pharmaceutical, biologic, veterinary medicine, and consumer healthcare products manufacturers including Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Biogen, Amgen, Bausch, P&G, Perico, Clorox, Eli Lilly, Henkel, and many more, and meet one-on-one with buyers in private meeting rooms.
Well, we see that the folks that are at the show are either key decision makers or key influencers. And I really appreciate the show because I've had the time to actually have a nice, thorough conversation with each of the guests. People are taking their time. It's a very small boutique venue, which provides for more of an intimate conversation and relationship building.
Secure your booth space today.
Oop, I'm going to pause it right there. And jump back into our presentation. But I like to share that video. I think those 2 testimonials kind of sum up the experience in the Expo Hall in terms of the information exchange concept that we're really trying to foster there, and the intimacy of the event in terms of the fact that everybody really gets the opportunity to connect and share ideas. Okay, poll number 3, guys. Another pause for me, but this one's our travel poll. This kind of gets a little bit into kind of what's on a lot of our minds right now. But the first question here is asking whether or not your organization currently has business-related travel restrictions in place. The second one is when do you think your organization will begin supporting your business related travel? So not necessarily like lifting travel restrictions in general, but actually allowing you to be able to come and attend events and be in person. And then the last is more for fun, and also for when we think about venues in the future, when you travel for fun, do you prefer to visit the beach or the mountains? So I'll give you another moment or two to click off your answers there. Okay, let's look at the results of the poll. Okay, so it does look like the majority of people who are on the call right now, 72% of their organizations do have business-related travel restrictions in place. When do you anticipate your organization? So many people, though, are still able to travel, so they have not been impacted by that. While other people are looking at possibly next year as being able to travel. And as far as beach versus mountains, I'm a beach girl too. So I see a lot of people are beach people. No offense to the mountain people, but it's fun to see that beach is the winner there. Okay, so moving in now to the number one reason why we tell people that they should be attending the event is the education. I've talked about education a lot throughout because that's just a vein that we try really hard to kind of have in our networking, in our expo hall, and obviously in our conference sessions. So we have over 16 hours of education packed into our 3-day event. I want to emphasize the fact that the presentations that are selected to be presented at our event are carefully reviewed by subject matter experts to ensure that they are high quality scientific presentations and non-commercial in nature. We really take pride in the fact that we are providing a platform for professional growth and for, as I mentioned before, information exchange. So you can rest assured that all of the content that's being provided is meant for that type of professional growth. Another thing I also want to mention is that all of the sessions this year are going to be recorded and available for all registered attendees to view after the event. They will also be available for purchase after the event for those people who were not able to register or attend in person. So now we're going to get a little bit deeper into a couple of our featured presenters. Our opening keynote presentation is going to be given by Dr. Sam Rainey from the FDA. He is going to be presenting the critical impact of excipients on physicochemical and structural characteristics of topical drug products. He will be opening our Tuesday at 8 a.m. He'll be introduced by our IPEC America's chair, and then we'll kind of kick off the conference and expo part of our event. That afternoon, I mentioned earlier, Catherine Eban. That afternoon, Catherine Eban, who is an investigative journalist and author, will be presenting the afternoon keynote at 3:30, followed by a book signing. You can see one of her books, Bottle of Lies, The Inside Story of the Generic Drug Boom. You can see the image there on the left. That book is being sold via our registration form for $12, so that if you want a copy and you don't have a copy, you can purchase it at that discounted rate, and we'll have them available for pickup on site, and you'll be ready for the book signing. And our closing keynote is going to be Lee Spock. He works for Biogen, and he will be presenting on the future of the pharmaceutical industry. He will be presenting on Wednesday afternoon at 3:30. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into kind of what our schedule looks like, just to give you a sense of the flow. So on Monday, September 27th, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation, that is our workshop day. And you can see that the breakup is that we have kind of a morning block of workshops. They're each 3 hours long, followed by a 1-hour networking lunch, and then another block of afternoon workshops. They're also 3 hours long. If you are an exhibitor or a representative from an exhibiting company, you can see here too that starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is when exhibitor move in and booth setup will begin. And then everybody, both exhibitors and workshop participants, will wrap up by 5 o'clock for our Excipient World welcome reception. So that is the Monday schedule. On Tuesday, we have a mix of sessions. We have, as I mentioned, our general sessions with Dr. Sam Rainey and Catherine Eban. In addition, we have several blocks of 45-minute education sessions. And we also have 20-minute quick talk presentations. What you're looking at here is color coded. I want to point out the orange sessions are the ones that are considered our general sessions, our keynotes. The greenish colored educational sessions that are kind of in the left column are the ones that are more formulations focused sessions. The blue sessions that are more so on the right column are kind of focused on innovation and news. Gray, the only one that's gray on this day is at 2:55. It's the Expo presentation that is focused on supply chain. But you can see that we've tried to schedule them so depending on tracking them so that way you won't have conflicts hopefully in your selecting sessions in your interest area. I also want to point out, it's really small down here, but after the book signing from 4:30 to 5:30, which will be in the exhibit hall, we're going to close the exhibits and move into the IPEC America's 30th anniversary celebration. And then on Wednesday, our last day of the event, a couple of things to point out is, again, we do have a mix. We have a couple of general sessions, and we also have our education sessions. Just a reminder, the green sessions, which are on the left side, are more formulations focused sessions. The gray sessions, which are on the right column, are our supply chain focused sessions. I want to point out that we do have our rapid fire poster presentations. I mentioned those earlier, that our academic poster presenters are going to be invited to do an oral presentation of their research on the exhibit hall floor. And I also want to point out for the exhibitors who are on the call that exhibits will close that day. You can see about midday at 2:30. So exhibits will close at 2:30, just before our last block of education sessions. Then we'll move into our final general session and our closing remarks, and then our thank you happy hour. That is in part because we do want our exhibitors to be able to be with us in our education sessions. So just make a note of that. If you're with an exhibiting company, that after 2:30, the exhibit hall will be closed and we'll be finishing up with our education and moving into our final networking event. I have a question that just came in that asked about whether or not any of the sessions will be streamed for attendees. That's a good question. The answer, unfortunately, is no. We are going to instead pre-record all of our sessions and have them available for on-demand viewing. We will not have any live streaming or live virtual audience. Okay, we're going to do a quick recap of the top 3 reasons to attend. Reason number 3 was expanding your network. Number 2 was increasing your access to innovation. And the number 1 reason to attend is the high quality, in-depth education that we are providing for all attendees and honestly, including exhibitor booth staff. The sessions will be live though and not recorded. Okay, so somebody's asking again about whether or not sessions will be live and not recorded. So that's a good question. So yes, we are having our in-person event. And yes, for every single presenter who is able to participate in person, those sessions will be live. And for presenters who are not able to participate in person, their sessions will be pre-recorded and they will be available for live Q&A afterwards. For the workshop, can it be conducted virtually if there's a traveling restriction by a company or organization? That's a good question. Thank you for the question about the workshops. We are still kind of working out the details for the workshop day. One of the main benefits of the workshop is that it's a small group and it is a very interactive format. It's not meant to be, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, but the idea that it's 3 hours long, oftentimes our presenters are presenting a short presentation followed by breakout groups and discussion, and then coming back together for more presentation. And we're still trying to work out the details for how we can provide that kind of engaging interaction if it's not live. So the answer right now is I'm not sure, but I will let you know as soon as we have more information about the workshop day. I'm going to pause for a second again and switch into a quick video I'd like to show with attendee testimonials. This really has, from the attendee point of view, the value of what the education program brings.
Excipient World is the only US event focused on the business, science, quality, and safe use for excipients. Attendings come from pharmaceutical, biologic, veterinary medicine, and consumer healthcare products manufacturers to learn about excipient and the latest trends and technology advancements as they relate to formulation, supply chain, regulation, and compliance.
Conference program includes all of the latest activities that are going on in the excipient space for the pharmaceutical industry. And so for me, I'm able to get all of the latest information on hot topics in the industry, and I can take that back to my regular job and back to the company that I work for.
Attendings can learn about the latest excipient solutions, discuss supply chain needs, and source new services and products in the exhibit hall from leading excipient manufacturers, distributors, and service providers.
I think the conference program this year has been fantastic. There has been really a great mix of quality topics and regulatory topics, as well as some really interesting technical talks that talk about things like continuous manufacturing, where industry is headed to. There's been an awful lot here that I know I'm going to be taking back to not just my quality folks, but to our R&D department to share and to build some of those relationships with a lot of the suppliers that we see exhibited here.
Mark your calendar to attend
Okay, let me switch us back over. Again, I think that's helpful. You may have recognized those two testimonials. One is Janine Skutnik-Wilkinson. She is actually the IPEC Americas chair this year. And she does a good job of explaining the value of our education program from the attendee point of view. Just to go back to our learning objectives, as I mentioned, the first one was to identify the top reasons to attend Excipient World. I think we've covered that one. Now I just wanted to take a moment to show our guests a little bit around our website, just to make sure that some of the important things that we need people to be able to find are easily found. So what you can see right here, right here on your screen is our website. It's excipientworld.org. You can see that we moved registration right here to the top navigation. We also have our COVID-19 updates. So for those of you who are interested in getting more information about what we're doing as far as COVID-19 is concerned, this is a good resource just to kind of work through. And we also have that video from the Gaylord Marriott hotels as far as what they're working on, and links out to their websites with their kind of precautions and how they're handling COVID-19. So that's there on top. As far as registration is concerned, if you click on registration right here in the top navigation, I want to point out a couple of things that you'll find. You do see right here our schedule button. If you click on the schedule, it'll take you right into an interactive schedule where you can see on each day what's going to happen. So you can kind of go through, you'll be able to see who all of the speakers are for each of the sessions. If you click on a session, you can read the description, see who like the target audience is. You can even click on, if you're interested in a speaker, click on the speaker's name, read their bio to get more information for them as well. It's a really nice interactive tool for planning your time at the event. The other thing is, if you click here where it says search and filter, you can see that you can filter by presentation format. So you can look for just education sessions, just general sessions, quick talks or workshops, and sort it that way. You can sort by presentation level. So if you want to look for more advanced topics versus fundamental or intermediate, you can do that. If you want to think about who the target audience is, if you're a formulator and you're like, I want to look at the things that are specifically for me, you can sort by who the presenter has identified as the target audience for the presentation, as well as what industry segment might benefit most from the presentation. So again, it's a really nice interactive schedule. If interactive schedules though aren't your thing, if you click here where it says schedule at a glance at the top of the page, you'll be taken to the PDF of what I just showed in the slide deck that kind of has the breakdown for what the schedule is. So that's there and available as a nice resource. The other thing I'll point out too, before we really get into the registration part, is that we have a very similar interactive speaker page. So if you click on speakers, you'll see each of our speakers listed. You can click on a speaker to learn more about them. It'll list all of the sessions that the speaker is presenting. So you can click on the session, you can see their date and time for when they're doing their presentation. So again, it's a nice resource if you're trying to still identify how you would want to spend your time at the event. I also have below just some frequently asked questions, pricing, discounts, that type of information that you can scroll through. But when you're ready to register, you click right here on this orange register and book your room. It'll take you into our system. The one thing I want to point out, and there's a note right here, is you will receive your link to book your hotel room upon completion of your registration. So as soon as you have registered, you will receive an email, and that will be how you get the link to register. Okay, so let me bring us back. I think that kind of covers the basics of navigating the website and getting us to our destination. So again, right there on the top, easy to find. But if you have any questions, the phone number that's on the top, 571-814-3450, is a direct line to me, and I'm happy to help you navigate your way through. Okay, we're gonna jump into our last poll for today, which is about your 2021 participation. So we mentioned COVID-19 and wanting to make sure that people who are able to come in person to participate feel safe. So the first question is asking about what practices would you like to see in place, not just at our event, but really at any event in 2021 to help you feel like you're having a safe experience. So please go through and select up to 5 items that you would like to see in place. Uh-oh, it looks like our second poll question is not correct. So the second poll question, although it says food and beverage provided in no contact way, that question actually should be, what is the likelihood of you to be able to participate in Excipient World in September? So when you're looking at question number 2, you're saying very likely, likely, unlikely, or very unlikely, the likelihood of you participating with us in person in September. So take a moment to fill that out. And let's take a look at the results. Okay, so it looks like the top one is hand sanitizer stations. Yes, because we're gonna have a lot of those. So we're in good shape. Cloth masks, I think we're probably getting closer to a mandate for those as well. So we should be able to do that. Education sessions that allow for moderate physical distancing is already something we're taking into consideration, and food and beverage provided in a no contact way. Wonderful. So thank you for that, because that really does help us know where to put our efforts. And then I'm looking at the likelihood of people being able to participate with us in person, not food and beverage for question number 2. And it looks like over half of the people are either likely or very likely able to come, which is nice to hear. So thank you very much for participating in that poll. I'm going to pause here for questions because we're going to move into this like very speaker specific part of our presentation soon. So if you have any outstanding questions related to the schedule or our planning or anything like that, feel free to pop them into the Q&A. I've been trying to keep an eye on that and answer things as they come in. And while I'm waiting for any other questions, just to look, we have looked at the top reasons to attend. We have done the navigation of the website, looking at registration and booking housing. Thank you, Dave, for the comment. Okay, well then, if there are no other comments, I would pause here and invite anybody who is not a speaker at the event this year to feel free to jump off, and I'll wait, about a minute or so, and then I'll pick up again with our speaker prep